Hello, everybody. It is Friday, May 1st. Yes, we're in May right now, and I don't know, something feels different to me at least. It feels like, a new month, maybe something new could come into play. I'm hoping at least. Obviously, many of you are like me, stuck at home in a lot of ways and with family and things like that, feeling kind of a little stir crazy, but this is kind of why I do this is maybe I can give you a little information, give you a little hope, or give you a little something to think about, something to ponder while you're stuck at home. So this is Phil, and once again, our Panda Ponderings. So today we're going to move a little bit from the West Coast into the East Coast and talk a little bit about Georgia. That's right. This is not my usual modus operandum because I live in the West Coast. I live in California, so obviously most of my news that I give you is about the West Coast. But this is really interesting, and I thought it was something worth talking about. So in Georgia, apparently, there's news now that Governor Brian Kemp has issued an executive order allowing many prospective license holders to upgrade their learner's permits into licenses without taking an in-person road test. So obviously, originally they had suspended the road tests in March due to COVID-19. And the thing is, anybody who with this new executive order that has come into play, anyone who is under 18 who has a learner's permit has to have that learner's permit for over a year and a day without a violation, and then they can go ahead and upgrade to a full license. Anyone who's over 18 is eligible to upgrade their permits to licenses immediately. So one thing, though, is that new drivers are still supposed to undergo at least 40 hours of supervised driving with a licensed adult. And all this to say, basically, at the end of the day, the decision of whether a new driver is ready to hit the road on their own is up to the individual parent or guardian. So it's really interesting thought, right? Because what this is alluding to is that we're making certain trade-offs because of certain regulations that are in place due to where we're at with COVID-19. So I'm pondering about like what trade-offs have we had to make in other areas of our lives. But specifically with this, like, just notice, right? Again, it's not an easy situation because on the one hand, you have many people who are being held hostage right now. They were ready and available to take their driving tests, but they couldn't because of the way that the regulations are right now, and they're just stuck there, not being able to move forward with their permits. On the other hand, there's a thought: do we really want to take a shortcut for licensing people to get behind a vehicle, a device that costs tens of thousands of dollars, that weighs thousands of pounds, and could potentially be a lethal projectile? I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. I remember, people in my life who, even after they took the test multiple times to finally pass it, that they probably shouldn't have passed it, and they probably shouldn't actually be holding on to driver's licenses. On the other hand, there's people I know who were, illegally driving at the age of 13, 14. And yet they're probably better drivers than, some of the people that have been a long time license holders that I know. But what's the solution? I don't know, and I want you to understand this. Like, the reason why for this pondering is like, just notice things don't necessarily have an easy black and white solution to it. Many things are very complicated and very difficult because you have people on both sides of the spectrum, or sorry, all sides of the spectrum. It's not just a black or white thing, but like, there's a lot of in between, a lot of grays in between. There's a lot that's in that camp, in that space. And you can't appease everybody, and at the same time, you have to do something, right? You have to either decide to stay where you're at or to move to the extreme or go somewhere in between that. And so this is an illustration, and there's a clear illustration of that. And I want you to think about it. It's like in our own lives, we have trade-offs that we do daily. I know that for me, for instance, we I have cognitive understanding that screen time for my 3-year-old should be limited. I have cognitive understanding that people who are psychologists, child development professionals, educators, they have seen that too much screen time will create some adverse effects in children that aren't good. And at the same time, there are moments where I am just at my wit's end with trying to battle with my irrational, emotional toddler who won't eat another bite without his iPad. And there are moments that I gotta say I'm not proud of, but I give and I cave in because it's much easier that way. Or in that particular moment, because there's other factors that are involved. It's not just about the ease of that moment, but a lot of times mine is motivated not by the moment, but by what happens thereafter. If he doesn't eat then, and if he doesn't get full, then his sleeping pattern will be bad because he'll be hungry in the middle of the night. He'll wake up at 2 a.m, and then he'll bother his mom and I, who have worked the next day. And so it's like this domino effect, right? But these are trade-offs that I make, and I just know that we all have that in our lives, right? It's not the fact that we do and make trade-offs. It's where we have to recognize where we're making these trade-offs and then make the appropriate decisions in those trade-offs and know what we're getting into. See, oftentimes we make these trade-offs and then, a year, 10 years down the line, we go, what happened? How did this occur? How did XYZ happen? And then we don't look back at each time that we betrayed ourselves in that moment, during that trade-off. And so I just want you to be aware and want you to think about that. These trade-offs all have impact. This executive order from the governor will have impact. I bet you it will have impact in the way that there are going to be more accidents and more tickets that are given in the next, 2-3 years in Georgia than there has ever been in the past, because there are people who have not went through the right filtering process to get their licenses. But that might be the trade-off that needs to happen, versus there are legitimate people that need their licenses for legitimate reasons that can't get it because of what's going on right now. So anyways, I hope this is something that you can kind of chew on and think about and reflect on your own life and ponder. So thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.